the Packers take their third loss of a season in a too close for the heart division matchup in Minnesota for their first of two matchups this season against the Minnesota Vikings, 34-31. I'm Joey here at Underage Packers, here, ready, excited to give you a recap of yesterday's game. Man, oh man, where do I even start? There was bad defensive play, specifically in the secondary. There was bad offensive play. There was good offensive play. Yeah, let's just go in the order those events happened in the game. The defense played awful. Awful might be stretching it, but they played bad for a majority of the game. And a common theme you'll see in this video and in many videos coming forward, I'd anticipate that we're going to be talking a lot about the injuries they faced. This week, I think it's clear to say the biggest one that impacted the defense this week was outside linebacker Rashawn Gary. And you might be maybe shocked, or the stats might tell you different, because, Jair Alexander might have been a bigger part in this game because Eric Stokes and Rasul Douglas really struggled against the Vikings wide receiver core. But I propose Rashawn Gary because of the impact that ends up having on the secondary, having an elite pass rusher not in the game. Preston Smith was tasked with stopping and containing Kirk Cousins, which he did a really nice job at. But on the opposite side of him, instead of Rashawn Gary, who's been playing incredible all year, you had a mix of Tipa Galley, Darius Hamilton, and Jonathan Garvin, who, they play good for what they are, a 7th rounder and 2 undrafted free agents, but they're not cutting it. It's really a shame that Whitney Mercedes is now out for the season as well with torn biceps. But that lack of pass rush was certainly felt yesterday, especially in the first half, and that ended up having a bad impact on Eric Stokes, Rasul Douglas, and even Kevin Keene trying to come up with any sort of way to stop Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. Luckily, Rashawn should be back after the bye, but the injuries at this point for both sides of the ball are getting pretty hard to overcome at this point. Having Elton Jenkins, Robert Tonyan out for the season, and then David Bakhtiari missing at least 12 weeks would be devastating enough. But then you add in Zadarius Smith, Jair Alexander missing a majority of the season, if not all, for the defense. That is absolutely unbelievable. And then also, just every single week, even if it's a minor injury, some starter is going down. It's so frustrating. I don't even have a word for it, for how incapable and sad, hard, miserable it is to watch the Packers. I mean, they're still succeeding, they're still winning games, but to see a starter go down every single week, sometimes they're minor, sometimes they're major, it is so, like I said, it is difficult to watch. On the offensive side of the ball, the Aaron Jones-less Packers offense came off to a slow start. Also dealing with an injury is quarterback Aaron Rodgers. Not COVID, but COVID toe, it seems, or either that or he stubbed his toe against the table in frustration. Whatever the case may be, he did not practice all the way leading up to this week against Minnesota, and now he has not had a full week of normal practice since the week before the Week 7 game against the Washington football team. The week after that, it was a shortened week where they played the Arizona Cardinals. The week after that, he tested positive for COVID just on that Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday early on in the week. And then obviously doesn't practice all of that week. He doesn't practice he doesn't return to the facilities until he's cleared to return that Saturday before the Seahawks game. And then he doesn't practice all the way up to this week with a toe injury. And it looks like, once again, leading up to LA, he's not going to practice at all. So it was clear, not only in his play, but just from the reports that we've heard so far and recently, that the toe injury for Aaron Rodgers is a real concern at this point, and it's going to be bugging him for the remainder of the season. Hopefully, maybe it's too early to say it will affect him for the remainder of the season because we don't know what the cause is, because Aaron has not told us. Nobody has told us. We're not sure exactly the severity, whatever. If it's COVID toe, maybe it could go away next week. Who knows at this point? But that's besides the point. He's dealing with this. He's going to be out of practice for at least this week. Hopefully, this bye week coming up will be beneficial for him and the rest of the injured players. But like I said, it was also evident in Aaron Rodgers' play not only this week, but also the week before in Seattle. In the first quarter, Aaron showed kind of more of the same that he was in Seattle. Against Seattle. He was not playing too terribly good. And I know some people just cannot emotionally take their emotions are just boiling right now because I dared to criticize Aaron Rodgers. But in the first quarter, he was really off rhythm. There was obviously some problems among the offensive line as well. Constant holdings that changed up the play calling to a non-preferable situation for the Packers and Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers, obviously. But some throws he was just straight up off on, out of rhythm, and completely the opposite of Aaron Rodgers playing in last year's offense. But about midway through that second quarter, on that last or second to last drive in the first half, that offense got hot, and they scored a touchdown in all of their 4 last possessions in the game. And from that point where the last drive in the second quarter, all the way up till that final moment, the final one-play touchdown to MVS, Aaron Rodgers and the offense was pretty much on fire. We saw a lot more motion, probably more motion yesterday against Minnesota from Matt LaFleur than we've seen all season combined, which is really good to see. The offense as a whole, I think, played its best performance yesterday against Minnesota. You had guys like Equanimeous St. Brown stepping up, Josiah DeGuara as well. MVS finally getting back into his groove after missing some time earlier on in the season with the hamstring injury, having over 100 yards. So there's a lot to be hopeful for with this offense, and for the first time, I think there's a little bit of a glimmer of hope for them. But then, it all came crashing down. All the excitement, all the momentum came with quite the damper when Elton Jenkins rolls over his ACL, and we find out this morning that he's going to be out for the season. And now this offensive line, without David Bakhtiari, without Josh Myers, and now without Elton Jenkins, offensive line now is in shambles. You're going to have Yosh Nijman out there at left tackle. You're going to have John Runyon at left guard, center Lucas Patrick, right guard Royce Newman, and right tackle Billy Turner. Every single one on there, especially Lucas Patrick and Royce Newman, outside of Billy Turner, the 4 guys to the left of Billy, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be hard to watch. Going against Aaron Donald next week, then going up against Akeem Hicks in the Bears front, although they are without Khalil Mack for the rest of the season. They got some tough fronts coming up. It seems possible that Bakhtiari and Myers could come back at some point soon, but we don't have too much info on them. Either way, Elton Jenkins, a center, an offensive tackle, an offensive guard being out for the season and most likely going through at least a 10-month recovery process is absolutely devastating to the Packers. Okay, now one last thing. I'll keep it quick here about special teams. It's bad. It is bad, besides Corey Bojorquez, who had some solid punts yesterday. But Mason Crosby and the field goal operation as a whole right now is in a bad state. Packers thought they were doing something to help them out by moving on from former 7th-round draft pick Hunter Bradley at long snapper and promoting somebody who they've had on the practice squad for about a year now in Steven Wirtel. Wirtel had a really bad first game against the Chiefs, and now here he is again messing it up against Seattle, messing up against Minnesota, and I think that the one that was missed, though, was completely on Mason Crosby, though. Wirtel had some bad punt snaps, especially near the end of the game, but Mason Crosby on the 39 cheap shot field goal, come on. That's bad. It is getting very concerning to the point where Packers fans, and I'm sure coaches at this point, don't have a lot of faith in the old Mason Crosby. And I'm not saying he's lost it, but usually you would say, kicker, follies, whatever, you can't make all of them. He's gonna have one inconsistent kick, maybe one even inconsistent game, but this is an inconsistent stretch of games that Mason Crosby is on. And compared to 2012, where he was on a really bad stretch as well, Mason Crosby is now 9 years older. And I'm not suggesting they move on from him because I don't know how easy it is to find a kicker that you can rely on and bring on the streets, because we see these problems so many years teams have with kickers, and they want to move on mid-season. Early on, they want to get rid of them, and then they go through 2 or 3 or 4 kickers just to find the right one that can hopefully hopefully in those games that they're trying out these kickers, they don't have to kick a game-winning field goal, So I think they're going to hold on to Mason, but hopefully he can get it together, especially in a stretch down the line here where he's really going to be relied on in some cold games at Lambeau Field, with 4 of the 6 Packers final games being played in Green Bay, Wisconsin. So that's special teams for you. That's my recap and thoughts of that game. Me and Big B will be back here for our full episode sometime later down this week to fully recap our thoughts on this game against Minnesota and look ahead to the LA Rams, a highly anticipated matchup. Thanks everybody for watching. Make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Follow us on all the social medias, and we'll see you later. Go Pack Go.